Hi, it's Karen Reeder with ReadGab. Today I'm going to talk about inferencing. Inferencing is such an important skill. It's an important skill for reading, and it's also an important social skill. And so I'm going to talk about how you can use picture books to improve upon your skills of inferencing for kids. And so I would use picture books when teaching any age, whether young ages or up through high school. Even high schoolers, they might act like they don't like it, but even high schoolers enjoy an occasional picture book to learn a skill. So, even if you're talking about inferencing in high school English, yeah, whip it out. So I read books, picture books to all of my kids, even up to my 11-year-old. And if I'm talking about inferencing with him, I'll expect him to recall the term inferencing, and I'll say it. But even I'll use it when I'm talking to my younger kids, but I won't expect them to remember it. Like with my 5-year-old, I might say, "Yeah, that's really great inferencing," and then we'll move on, and I won't expect him to recall the word. So the first book I have today is called Spencer's New Pet by Jessie, Sima. And I love this book. This is a recent find. I picked it up from the library, and it was sitting on my floor, and I wasn't doing anything with it because I just hadn't gotten to it. But my 5-year-old picked it up one day when I was working, and he's reading it, and at the end he starts laughing. And I was so intrigued about why he was laughing, and so I sat down and stopped what I was doing, and we talked about it and read it together. And it was so fun to realize that he had inferred what happened using the pictures, because this book actually has very, very few words. So it's about this little boy, and he has a new pet that is obviously a balloon animal, this little balloon animal. And it goes through the story, and he's trying to take care of his pet, and he's really concerned about it and having to keep it safe because he has to make sure it doesn't pop, and he's worried about where it might pop and all these pointy things. And so you could talk about, if this was a real dog, why would they be worried? But it's a balloon animal, so why are they worried? And so they can infer a lot through the pictures. But then at the ending, you have to infer what happens. And they're at a party, and there's a little girl with a blindfold, and she is walking towards him, and she doesn't see him. She's playing pin the tail on the donkey. And you turn the page, and pop! And then on the next page is where my 5-year-old laughed. And he says, "Mom, the little boy's a balloon too." And so it's so cute. What a cute little ending through pictures that they infer that the little boy is a balloon because he's disappeared. And so with inferencing, you teach them that it's something that's implied, that's not said. And the words never actually said that. And there's actually a little bit more to the story. It has a really cute ending. So I won't tell you everything, but this is a great book because of the pictures that they learn inferencing. So another way with using pictures is that the inferring emotions, and this is where what I was talking about was social, that you want to infer how somebody is feeling. And so you can use a lot of different picture books to look at the pictures and say, okay, what do you think this character is feeling? And who better to give us emotions than Mo Willems with Gerald and Piggy? I love Mo Willems. So we're going to use I Really Like Slop. And look at some of these pictures, and even on the cover you can say, how do you think Gerald feels about this? So you'll go through the pictures, and at each one you can say, let's infer how they're feeling. And just such a great book, and looking at all these pictures to infer emotions for the characters. And our next book is called This Is Not My Hat. I love this one. It's so cute. It's so simple and clever. It's about a little fish, and he's having a conversation with the audience, and he's telling about this hat that he stole. And again, you can infer a lot with the little characters, what they're thinking and what their emotions are. But the greatest part about this one is the ending. So he's talking all about what he's going to do, and he's swimming away, and then he swims into the plants at the end, and he thinks that the fish will never find him. And then here you just see a trail afterwards, and that's the big fish. And the little fish is all gone, and the big fish has his hat back. And so you infer the ending, and it was really cute to see my kids, each of them decided to infer a different ending. One of them said, well, the big fish ate the little fish. And another one said, well, he just beat him up. And another one said, no, he just asked nice and he got his hat back. And then you could say, oh, well, maybe there's a hat store in the plants. And so there's all kinds of things that you can infer, but it doesn't say it in words. And so it's really fun that the kids get to decide the ending they're going to infer based on all the other words and everything else that's happened, and using these picture clues and figure out what they think the ending is. And that's a really great thing when teaching inferencing. Sometimes you can compare and say, okay, we're going to talk about predictions and we're going to predict what will happen. And then with a prediction, you can find out what really happened. And in this one by Jon Klassen, you do find out that the big fish has his hat back or has a hat, but you don't find out how it came to be. You don't see what happened to little fish. And in other books, you can find out the ending. And so you can say, okay, so that was a prediction. We really found out. And then you can talk about what we're going to infer this one. We don't really know for sure. So this one is a good one. You can make some predictions and you can make some inferences if you want to talk about both and compare the two. It's called My Lucky Day by Keiko, Kasza. And it's such a fun story about two animals who think it's their lucky day. And so you can also talk about viewpoints of why a fox would think it's his lucky day and why in this story, why would the pig think it's its lucky day. So the story starts and there's a fox sitting down and he hears a knock at the door, and then the pig says, oh no, I thought this was a rabbit's house. And so the fox brings him inside and he's going to cook him for dinner. And it goes through and the pig keeps tricking the fox. He tricks him to give him a bath because he says, don't you want to clean me up first? I'm awfully dirty. And then he tricks him into feeding him because I'm really on the small side. And then he tricks him by saying, well, just a thought, Mr. Fox, my meat's going to be awfully rough. And so he tricks him into giving him a massage. And so all these different things, and the kids will be laughing about it, the cute little pictures, he's tied up there. And so the kids can be making predictions throughout, but then they can also be making inferences. And so here, the fox, he passes out because he's so tired. But it doesn't say that in words, so you can say, okay, so why did the fox pass out? And then again, the ending, so you can say, as the pig goes home, and he's sitting there, and he's looking through his address book about who to visit next. And fox is crossed off, and coyote's crossed off, and then he has wolf and bear. And so you're going to see on the last page, here's bear, and the piglet's acting worried again. And so you can say, okay, so we're going to infer, does the piglet really go into these houses on accident? And they'll take all these context clues and they will make different inferences. And this is a great one. My 5-year-old loved this one too. He was giggling so much. And he said, Mom, I wish there was a second book and so we could discover what happens at Bear's house. And I said, well, let's decide ourselves. What do you think it would go? What do you think he would make him for food? And how would it go differently? And my one, we'll say it's also the child who thinks that big fish ate little fish. He would create a story where in the ending, Piglet eventually got eaten, kind of gets his comeuppance for tricking the animals. So lots of different fun things you can do with that. So this book, this one's just really fun because it's called Tops and Bottoms and it opens differently, but it opens from the bottom. So it's another one where the animal's tricking, the hare's tricking the bear. But my favorite part is for learning the inferencing skills is when the first page, it says, not far down the road lived a hare. Although Hare was clever, he sometimes got into trouble. He had once owned land too, but now he had nothing. He had lost a risky bet with a tortoise and had sold all his land to Bear to pay off the debt. And so you can talk about what is this referring to? Can we figure out what other story this is referring to? Because the kids will say, well, most of them will probably have heard of the story of the tortoise and the hare. And so then they can infer that that's what he's talking about. And so then the story goes through and the bear gets tricked by the hare, that the hare says, I'll do all the work and then you can have the top half of the crop and I'll have the bottom half of the crop. And then when hare gets the bottoms, he does all the carrots and the turnips, and then so the hare keeps getting the good parts. And so it's a really fun story where the animals are tricking each other, and you can make lots of inferences and also, again, predictions, because you can see certain things that do happen in the end, and then certain things that you have to figure out through context clues and through pictures. So the last book that we have for you today is called The Bear Ate Your Sandwich. This one is so cute, and I just love the pictures. It is by Julia Sarcone-Roach, and it talks about the story of this bear and how he was out just minding his own business in the forest, and how he ended up in the city, and he ended up finding your sandwich, and then he ate it. But then he was spotted, and he ran away, and so there's no evidence of the bear anymore, and tells how he gets back home. He's just fine, but I'm sorry, your sandwich is gone, and the bear ate it. And so this is really fun to talk about at the beginning, to ask the kids, who do you think is the voice of this story? Who is telling this story? And then to discover at the end, they can make those predictions, and then they can find out who the voice is, because it's this cute little puppy. And you can talk about, how do you think the girl feels about this, and why is the dog telling this story? And then, you can infer that the dog really ate the sandwich, of course. And then ruff, 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 does the dog really talk, or does the girl doing this all in her imagination? There's so many fun things you can do with this book. So hope you got some good books to use for teaching some inferencing skills to the kids in your life, whether you're a parent or teacher, or some other way that you work with children, so that you can work on those skills. And I hope that you will take the time to subscribe to my channel and watch for more videos that I'll do about reading. And I will talk to you later.